Over the course of NASCAR history, there have been some feats that are the stuff of legends. Jimmy Johnson's 5 straight championships, Jeff Gordon's 13-win season in 1998, Richard Petty winning 10 consecutive races. Whatever it may be, all of these records I just listed are without a doubt unbeatable. But there's one accomplishment that is engraved in greatness, a feat that has not been accomplished in 18 years, and one that no one has come close to ever since. Winning 4 consecutive races. Only 12 drivers have ever been able to pull it off, and as you're about to see, all the drivers that have accomplished this feat are legends of the sport. So with that being said, let's look at all the times that a driver has won 4 in a row. So you guys know all that stuff I said about only legends being able to win 4 in a row? Well, the first guy to ever do it is probably someone that 95% of you have never heard of. Everyone got their guess locked in? Okay, Billy Wade was the first driver to win 4 in a row in 1964. Billy Wade wasn't a full-time driver in '64, but was able to make 35 of the 62 races that year and had a very respectable 9.5 average finish. Wade finished the '64 season 4th in points behind names like Richard Petty, Ned Jarrett, and David Pearson. He was also able to do this on a variety of tracks. His first came at the Old Bridge Stadium, followed by his win at the road course of Bridgehampton, his third coming at the Islip Speedway, and his last coming at Watkins Glen. When Wade won 4 in a row, little did he know that these were going to be the only 4 wins of his career, as on January 5, 1965, while performing a tire test at Daytona, a blown tire caused his car to crash and he died due to his injuries. The next driver to win 4 in a row was David Pearson in 1966. In 1966, Pearson was locked into a heated battle with Richard Petty, as both of them combined for 23 of the 49 races won that year. For the opening 8 races, Petty got off to a hot start, but in race 9 at the Hickory Speedway, Petty won his first race of the season and then followed it up with 3 more wins at Columbia, Greenville, and Bowman Gray to make it our second 4-race win streak. These wins vaulted Pearson into the points lead, and he was able to claim another wins throughout the year, and this gave him enough points to dominantly claim the championship over James Hilton and Richard Petty. The third driver to win 4 in a row was a guy we were just talking about, Richard Petty. In 1967, Petty won not just 4 in a row, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, but 10 races in a row. He won these races at Bowman Gray, Columbia, Savannah, Darlington, Hickory, the Virginia Fairgrounds, Beltsville, Orange Speedway, Martinsville, and North Wilkesboro. All of which are ovals, but also they're all different in shapes and sizes. Petty up to that point won 17 of the 36 races, and then went on a 10-race win streak to win the championship. The next time a driver went 4 in a row was in 1968, but it wasn't someone new. David Pearson would become the first driver to have 2 separate 4-race win streaks. Pearson would once again be locked into a battle with Richard Petty. The 2 drivers combined for 32 of the 49 races ran that year, both winning 16 each. Pearson started his win streak at the Asheville-Weaverville Speedway, a half-mile paved track, Darlington, Beltsville, and at Langley Field. Pearson was more consistent than his rival Petty. Even though Pearson attempted 1 less race, Petty had 6 more DNFs, which is what allowed Pearson to get through and win his second championship. We would have to wait another 3 years before another driver would conquer the 4-win streak, and the driver doing it would be Bobby Allison. Allison, though, wouldn't just win 4 in a row, he would win 5 in a row. Allison would start his win streak at the World 600 in Charlotte and would follow that up with wins at Dover, Michigan, Riverside, and Myers Speedway in Houston. Despite winning 5 straight races, it wasn't enough to get the championship over the next guy, Richard Petty. Petty would clap back against Allison, responding with a 5-race win streak of his own. The win streak started just 3 races after Allison's at the Saratoga Speedway, and then proceeded to win at Islip, Trenton, Nashville, and Atlanta. Petty was simply untouchable in this time, as he won 21 races in 1971, en route to his 3rd Cup Series championship. Transitioning into the modern era, we would have to wait 5 years for the next driver to accomplish 4 in a row, and it would be Cale Yarborough in 1976. In 1976, Yarborough was the dominant force of the season as he won 5 of the first 22 races and sat first in the standings, just 29 points ahead of recurring driver Richard Petty. But then Yarborough won at Richmond and then followed it up with a win at Dover, and then proceeded to win 2 more times at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro to make it 4 in a row. After his win at North Wilkesboro, Yarborough was now 100 points ahead of Petty. In the remaining races of the season, Yarborough was able to hang on and claim his first Winston Cup championship, and this of course would be the start of Yarborough's iconic three-peat. 5 years later in 1981, Darrell Waltrip would become the 6th different driver to go on a 4-race win streak. In the first 25 races, Waltrip won 8 of them and sat in first by a very slim 2 points over Bobby Allison. But in race 26 at Martinsville, he picked up a win, and then in the next race at North Wilkesboro, he picked up another win. Followed it up with a 3rd straight win at Charlotte, and then capped it off with a win at Rockingham to make it 4 in a row. This streak of 4 wins propelled his points lead from 2 points to 68 points. And this margin was enough for Waltrip to combat a 4th place finish and a win in the last 2 races from Allison. And Waltrip would walk away with his first of 3 championships. We would have to wait another 6 years for someone to go 4 in a row, and it was done by arguably NASCAR's greatest driver, Dale Earnhardt, in 1987. Unlike the last 2 drivers on our list, Earnhardt did it early in the season. In the opening 4 races, Earnhardt won 2 of them, and the other 2 races saw finishes of 5th and 16th. After the 4th race of the season, he had a 61-point advantage over 2nd place Bill Elliott. In race 5, he would kick off his win streak at Darlington, and then won his next 3 races at North Wilkesboro, Bristol, and Martinsville. After his win streak, he had a 157-point gap over Bill Elliott. After his win streak, he never relinquished the points lead and won 5 more races later in the year, including another 3-race win streak. In total, he finished the season with 11 wins and his 3rd championship. 4 years later in 1991, an unusual name would come into the fold. Harry Gant started off 1991 in solid fashion. Through 14 races, he had a win and was sitting 7th in the standings. But in the next 4 races, he had finishes of 23rd or worse and dropped down to 10th in points. He finally had a good week at Michigan, finishing 6th, but proceeded to follow it up with a mediocre 19th place run at Bristol. But in the next race of the Southern 500, he would win, and then proceeded to win again at Richmond. He made it 3 in a row at Dover, and then capped off his 4-race win streak with a win at Martinsville. This win streak would propel him from 10th in points to 6th. Gant finished the last 5 races in 2nd, 4th, 2nd, 23rd, and 4th. The insane consistency Gant showed in the last 9 races enabled him to finish 4th in the standings. While he wasn't able to win the championship, he was still able to notch a top 5 points finish in what was otherwise a lost season. A fun fact about Gant's win streak is that all of his wins came in the month of September in 1991, which gave him his iconic nickname of Mr. September. In 1992, Bill Elliott would accomplish the 4 in a row feat. Elliott came out of the gate swinging. After a tough break at the Daytona 500 where he finished 27th, he picked up his first win in the next week at Rockingham. He then won the next week at Richmond, and then won the next 2 races at Atlanta and Darlington. Despite all the wins and laps led, he still didn't have the points lead. Davey Allison, the guy who won the 500, just had more consistency and was able to hold the lead over Elliott. Over the course of the season, Elliott was in the mix for the championship with Davey Allison and Alan Kulwicki. Now, I don't think I need to explain in detail the 1992 season because there's literally 20 videos about it. So to give you the Spark Notes version, Elliott went into the finale 3rd behind Kulwicki and Allison. But Allison wrecked out early, and due to Kulwicki leading 1 more lap than Elliott, Kulwicki would clinch the most laps led point and claim the championship instead of Elliott. For the 3rd year in a row, we would have a driver win 4 consecutive races. In 1993, it would be Mark Martin. Martin kicked off the 1993 season in rather consistent fashion. Through the first 9 races, he had 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and was sitting 6th in points. But Martin would encounter the dreaded summer slump. Over the next 4 races, he had 3 finishes of 28th or worse and tumbled down to 12th in points. But he would bounce back, having 4 top 10s in the next 5 races, and then got his first win of the season at Watkins Glen. He would go back-to-back, winning the next week at Michigan, and then won another race the next time out at Bristol, and then capped off his win streak at the Southern 500. After this historic win streak, Martin jumped up to 3rd in points, but was still over 300 points behind the leader, Dale Earnhardt. In the remaining 8 races, Martin was very inconsistent. While he scored a win in 4 top 10s, in the other 4 races, he didn't even have a top 15. Martin ended the year 3rd in points behind Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace. 5 years later, Jeff Gordon would be the guy to win 4 in a row. What's there to say about Jeff Gordon's 1998 season that hasn't been already said? It is without a doubt the best season in the modern era. Gordon already had 4 wins on the year and had the points lead with a decent cushion over 2nd place. Gordon then went on his win streak starting at Pocono. He then won the Brickyard 400, the race at Watkins Glen, and then he won at Michigan. After this win streak, Gordon never had a finish worse than 7th and recorded 5 more wins and an average finish of 3.3 in the last 12 races. This bonkers consistency and outright dominance allowed him to win his 3rd championship. We would have to wait 9 years for someone to win 4 in a row. The guy reaching the mark this time would be Jimmie Johnson. Johnson was one of the 2 heavy hitters in 2007, the other being Jeff Gordon. To start the 2007 chase, Johnson was the 1 seed. In the first 5 races of the chase, he recorded finishes of 6th, 14th, 3rd, 2nd, and 14th. Johnson left race 5 at Charlotte 68 points behind Gordon, but in the next race at Martinsville he picked up a win, and then won back-to-back by getting the win at Atlanta. He then went 3 in a row by winning at Texas, and then to make history, he won his 4th consecutive race at Phoenix. This set him up in an ideal position. In his win streak, Johnson was able to create a 154-point swing when Gordon himself had insane finishes. Gordon was no slouch during Johnson's win streak. Johnson went from 68 points behind Gordon to 86 points ahead of Gordon. And heading into Miami, all he needed to do was finish 18th, and in the finale, Johnson finished 7th and claimed his 2nd consecutive championship. So in total, there have been 12 drivers that have won 4 races in a row, and only 2 of them have done it twice, Richard Petty and David Pearson. 9 of the 14 times it happened, it resulted in a championship win. But the 5 times it didn't result in a title win, all of them still got top 5 points finishes. The lowest of which being 4th by Bobby Allison, Billy Wade, and Harry Gant. Another question you might have is, why has nobody done it since then? Well, I'm going to be honest, I think it's cursed. 8 times since then, a driver has gone 3 in a row, but not 4. In 2015, Kyle Busch won 3 straight races at Kentucky, New Hampshire, and the Brickyard. His 4th attempt would come in the next race at Pocono. This race ended up coming down to fuel mileage, and Busch ran out with a little over a lap to go, getting passed by Matt Kenseth, and Busch finished 21st. The next time someone won 3 in a row was later that year with Joey Logano. Logano started his win streak winning at Charlotte, and then controversially winning at Kansas, and then winning at Talladega to sweep the round of 12. In his race 4 attempt at Martinsville, he absolutely dominated the race, leading over 200 laps. But as we all probably know, Matt Kenseth made sure that didn't happen, and Logano finished 37th. The next time a driver went 3 in a row was Kevin Harvick in the early portions of 2018. Harvick won at Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Phoenix. But in his 4th attempt, which came at Auto Club, he and Kyle Larson got into it, and this took Harvick out of the equation, and Harvick finished 35th, 9 laps down. The next guy to win 3 in a row was just 2 weeks later when Kyle Busch won at Texas, Bristol, and Richmond. The problem was, the track that he had to attempt a 4 in a row was at Talladega. So there was little to no shot, as Kyle Busch's career at super speedways, especially when he was at Joe Gibbs, wasn't great, but he finished a respectable 13th. The next guy up was Brad Keselowski, who also attempted this in 2018. Keselowski won back-to-back crown jewels at the Southern 500 and the Brickyard 400, and then he won the playoff opener at Las Vegas. The track he would attempt to win 4 in a row at was Richmond. Keselowski was actually up front late in the race, but with 37 laps to go, he was passed by Kyle Busch, and Keselowski faded late in the race to finish 9th. The next time someone would make an attempt was Kyle Larson in 2021. Larson, coming off of 3 consecutive 2nd place finishes, finally broke through and won the Coke 600. He won the next race at Sonoma and then won at Nashville. In his 4th race, he passed Alex Bowman with 4 laps to go, and on the last turn, on the last lap, he blew a tire and finished 9th. Kyle Larson would win 3 in a row for a 2nd time in the 2021 season, starting his win streak in the round of 12 cutoff race at the Roval, and then winning next week at Texas, and then winning his 3rd straight race at Kansas. In his 4 in a row attempt at Martinsville, a late spin by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. would give him damage and force him to pit late, resulting in a 14th place finish. The most recent driver to attempt was Christopher Bell earlier this year. Bell won on a variety of tracks. He won at Atlanta, COTA, and Phoenix. In his attempt at Las Vegas, Bell just didn't have the speed, and also due to a pit road penalty, he was only able to muster up a 12th place finish. Among the 7 tries I just listed, the closest of them was obviously Kyle Larson. Larson had the lead heading into the final corner, and then he blew a tire. Although he technically did win 4 in a row because he won the All-Star race 2 weeks prior. The average finish among the 4th attempt is 18.8. Honestly, I believe that Jimmy Johnson summoned some devil magic and it has now cursed everyone since. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 4,000 by the end of the year. Comment, follow me on Instagram. Thank you to my channel members, and I will see you guys next week for another video. Y'all have a good one.